What is going on at Airbnb? Why is everyone freaking out?
Well, I don't think they're freaking out across the country.
They are here.
They are here because we did get quite saturated. I think what happened, and just for the record, I do not have data for Airbnb, all right? Or VRBO. Huh?
This is anecdotal.
Yeah, well, it's a little, and reasonable expectations, but as I look at AirDNA, that's, and I don't pay for it, so I don't have all of the information, but what I look for is vacancy rates, or occupancy rates. And I can say that the occupancy rates in the greater Phoenix area, in popular areas like Scottsdale, Paradise Valley, Phoenix, have been lower than their competing neighbors in areas like, say, California. So California occupancy rates have been better. So
what's a good occupancy rate, just for comparison's sake?
For the year, an average for the year, 77%. I'd say anything over 70% is good. We have been in the 60s, in the low 60s in some cases. In some areas, it depends on what you're comparing to. So, say for instance, Surprise has a very good occupancy rate in the 70s, but they used to be 80 or 90 percentile, right? So you're seeing
who was doing Airbnbs in Surprise?
People going to see their parents, I suppose. I mean, but Surprise is close to where the Super Bowl was, if you remember.
That's true.
So this year we had the Super Bowl, and this is what happened. I believe people bought Airbnbs with the expectation that there would be a lot of demand because of the Super Bowl and golf and cars and horses and baseball, all of that stuff, all in the spring. But specifically the Super Bowl, like they were buying properties surrounding the stadium. For sure.
Seemed like a good long-term plan.
Well, if it depends on the price they paid. But what happened, what they didn't expect was the number of pop-up Airbnbs that came out of nowhere that nobody expected to see. So, for example, now we're going to get into an anecdotal story. My niece, who is 27 years old, had a number of her friends secretly Airbnb their apartments out and made like $5,000 in a weekend. And they undercut a lot of the people who had gone out and bought homes with the expectation that they were going to make way more than that. And they got, a flood of excess supply from these, onesie, twosie, weekender, tenants that decided to make a little extra money. And I think what happened was that their expectation for occupancy was dashed. And so what we've seen in long-term 12-month leases now is a switchover. Right after the Super Bowl was over, we saw a very sharp increase in areas like Scottsdale for 12-month leases available in the MLS. And it started off in Scottsdale, and then it bled eventually into the rest of the area. So you've got the same spikes going on in Southeast Valley, and in parts of the West Valley as well.
It just never made a lot of sense to me to have an Airbnb in like regular areas, like on the golf course, on the lake, right? Walking distance to some landmark makes a lot of sense to me, right?
Right, yeah.
Walking distance to, what's Kierland's? But Kierland's, like walking distance to Kierland's, right? Like that makes sense to me.
Right, yeah.
But in a regular neighborhood, just never.
Well, there are all these different, again, the Airbnb I hate to call it the Airbnb market because it's a company.
Short-term rental market.
The short-term rental market has a lot of different places you could specialize in. You've got the 30-day rentals, you've got the nurses, you've got
you got the midterm rentals and this and that.
Yeah, you've got all that stuff. You've got furnished.
So,
but generally speaking, though, some people are of the opinion that because the short-term rental market in Phoenix was a disappointment, that we're going to see this flood of people selling their short-term rentals, and that's going to cause prices to come down.
So I did have a conversation with a friend in the last 7 days who in the last 12 months has bought 16 properties to be Airbnbs or short-term rentals. And he's losing money on all 16.
Oh, when did he buy?
I guess sometime in the last 12 months.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. In the last year, I can see that.
I was like, and when I say losing money, not as far as what he bought it and what he's selling it for, but what he can rent it for now as a mid to long-term rental. It's like a third of his mortgage because he was buying them, underwriting them as short-term rentals.
Yes. And that brings us to why we had predicted years ago that in areas like Scottsdale and tourist popular areas, you were going to start seeing homes valued not based on what a normal person would pay for it or rent it for, but what the ROI on a tourist would have been.
Right.
And that is, again, as we've talked about over and over again, the shortest hold, whether you're holding it to buy and sell or whether you're holding it short-term on a lease basis, that is the riskiest form. And if you cannot purchase it at a price that allows you to go 12 months and still at least break even on it, that's going to create some stress. And not everybody was picking up on the fact that a lot of the appreciation that was happening in the luxury market was based off of ROI.
Right. Well, and that's, like I said, that's what you said in one of our masterminds. Like, okay, so there's a lot of risk here. I don't have to worry about this. I'm not going to focus on this. I'm going to do something else.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you did. But I mean, I know you probably could have made a ton, but again, that comes at a cost. And the key piece would have been for you to sell that before. Not everybody gets that timing perfectly.
We tend to hold things for too long.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. We could go one more month. But overall, there's a fault in the theory that the short-term rentals market's going to bring down everybody else's values.
Oh yeah, there's not enough supply of those.
It's only going to be the excess supply. Yeah. It's not going to be the basis, the core.
Yeah. If you like what you just saw, click this video next to me to watch the full episode.